Hello everybody, it's ProbablyRed. Today we're gonna talk about solo role playing. Okay? There's a lot of aspects to solo role playing, all right? The main idea here is we're going to talk about the types of oracles one might need for solo play. It's probably going to be the title. It's the title of this document. Well, the title of the document: Solo Tables, Templates, and Resources. But the idea here is just to kind of discuss like the goal. Okay, we got to figure out how to word this before we get into Waffle Town. All right, so I've found a lot of resources, trying to figure out this solo gaming thing. Because if you've solo role played before, you probably have gone through that experience where you're like, what am I doing? How do I do it? And why don't I get it? That sort of thing. And like, you can kind of, I guess, get into sort of a trap where you end up watching more than you actually play, to try to figure out what it is. And there's a lot of ways to go about it. You can just look up like I'll go through the resources real quick. We're gonna just talk about. Okay, okay. So the two main inspirations for this video, which the reason I chose these is because they're very recent videos. I've got a lot of resources on this video. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. And this is going to be kind of a baseline document / discussion for expanding on each of the different subtopics that we'll get to in a little bit later. I'll be like, okay, so these are the subtopics. When we get there, I'll clarify. Okay, so there's two main inspirational videos. Soloist Venture's video about no prep solo play using the Adventure Crafter. Okay, now I do not own the Adventure Crafter and it's by the same people that do Mythic GME, which is a really popular way of going about it. Okay, and I've been trying to italicize anything that I don't actually own. But I watched a video on it, so I kind of have an idea what it is. And those videos inspired me not to, hurry up and go get the product, but to figure out what those products are providing so I can kind of come up with a list. And the second one is Me, Myself, and Die's video on the Book of Random Tables 2nd edition, okay? And I've got the links already ready to put in the description for those two. There's going to be a lot of links under this video. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be Link City. Yeah, so these videos had me thinking about what would be a good set of tables to have or to list out as kind of prep, like I was saying. Ironically, because this Adventure Crafter video is no prep solo play, but I think that was Soloist Venture, showing how much experience they have and how good they are at like soloing because they've done it a lot. But the video's got and the whole concept of no prep solo play, I think is at least like maybe I'm misunderstanding, but I kind of see it as something a little bit more advanced. You've got all of these systems and resources and all this stuff available to you. If you're just starting out, you probably should try to use one of those first. Maybe you could try like no system first to just kind of like brainstorm and grok the idea. I haven't done it yet, but and it's a very interesting concept. But the video inspired me, like the way that they used the Adventure Crafter. And the way that they laid out all of the different aspects they need to play. And there's another one in the series where they just go through like all the different systems that inspire them when they're going like no prep or no system or systemless. You still have these subsystems that you've played with and accumulated experience with. Okay. And then just Me, Myself, and Die's video. By the way, Me, Myself, and Die, that's the person who's like the voice actor for Rocket Raccoon, which I just thought that was crazy. I found that out yesterday. That's cool that they have their own solo role playing channel. Very fun. And one of their videos is the Book of Random Tables, like second edition. I don't think that's the actual title of their video, but this is the link to the video. That's the concept of the video. Anyways, so like, what would now? I there's a couple of, I guess, like sort of fallacies, I guess you might call them, that I have found. And one is like, and this is kind of another point that that soloist venture has, is like you will never have enough prep. Like you'll always be like, okay, I need this and this and this and this, and you keep adding systems, and you also keep adding systems to your cart and tools and tables and all this kind of stuff. So the first fallacy is I need more systems. Okay. Which is very ironic for this whole video thing, is like, I need more systems. This is trying to capture that fallacy, or potential, I guess, like, you know, mind traps. Yeah. Potential mind traps. That's what I'm going to call it right now. Okay. So you got potential mind traps. I need more systems. You know, and I guess you could say like that could be countered by versus, you know, just play the game. Okay. And I don't know all the verses for all these, but another thing is like, okay, I need to come up with everything in advance. Another one is like, it has to be completely original on the first run. On the first run through. Okay. So like, these all could be kind of like their own video, probably. Like, I need to come up with everything in advance. That's like prep versus like low prep, which is similar to the first one. Okay. Yeah, like, just when do you decide to actually play the game? And then being completely original, this is kind of like, okay, you're using a setting versus you're creating a setting. And Tinkar from Tinkar's Tavern, and I've heard this said by other people too, like, you don't have to write the entire novel to go through the process of solo roleplay. You can play the game. You could just use filler names and stuff, or like have a name table, or use a name table. You know, you can play it as a game. You don't have to come up with everything yourself. Though, I mean, it's kind of fun to come up with these things, and potentially. So, yeah, it has to be completely original versus using a setting or tools to play. Yeah. And I'm not saying like this is, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just saying like these are roadblocks. Yeah, like, or roadblocks. You know. But anyways, so there's a little side tangent there. Okay. And then this is the list of influences I compiled a minute ago. Big list, but we're just going to really quickly read through them. So, Geek Gamer's Guide on How to GM Yourself. I think it's like from 2017. This is a link to it. We'll have this little thing. And these, just really quickly going through these. But basically, it's kind of like how to, and we've got a couple of these in the influences. It's how to like make a system or build a set of like tables and systems and get them prepped to just play a session. Okay. Very useful guide there. And then Land of Eam, that's one of my inspirations, specifically rolling 2d6 and having yes and but no oracles. You know, and then having stats affect that. And we'll get into that more detail later. It's just a really, one of the standout, yes, no, and but whatever, you know, oracles. I like that stats can modify it, and that gets a little bit more gamey. And I guess that's kind of another one we'll throw in here, like gamey gamey versus, or like game mechanics heavy, and okay, so it's kind of multifold, versus like tools driving the game, versus like, and you know, like rolling for everything, and then like capital versus narrative journaling. And I want to say the word prompts, but that has sort of a different meaning now. I mean prompting as in like a system that gives you a prompt and then you answer the prompt. That kind of narrative journaling. So we'll just go ahead, like we'll just do a plus. Now, I'm not saying all of these have to be, you know, working together. Game mechanics heavy, tools driving the game, and rolling for everything. Those can be separate things. I mean, that's why I wrote them as separate things. And they don't have to be like, you know, connected necessarily, but they do have some synergy with each other versus narrative journaling. I'm also not saying you can't do these things. They're just, you can get into the trap of like, is you playing the game or is the game playing you? Like, and in a way that's kind of ironic to say, because like the game is playing you when it's asking you to write a journal entry or giving you a prompt in what you describe the thing for, but it's a different way of playing you. You know, it's kind of weird. I might just be wording it incorrectly, but I guess I can just go ahead and do that number. Not that these don't all fit on one page, but yeah. So Land of Eam, Book of Random Tables. I was going through this video on the channel Me, Myself, and Die, and we'll have that down here in a second. But it's just like the way that they layered the tables for the books. You have the book, then what is the like cover of it made out of, and then who wrote the book, and then what is like a summary of the contents, and what's the condition of the book. All of these things are tables, like D100 tables. So I'm not saying you have to make a D100 table. And if you don't want to, you could just go get the Book of Random Tables 2nd edition. And then it's actually a compilation with some original entries of a bunch of other books you can pick up instead. But anyways, I digress. This guide, you can kind of take the concept and say, maybe I just come up with D10 books, you know, or scrolls or whatever, you know, or an items, and then like have a couple of subtitles that are more generic, or even have a generic thing of tables like, say, potion, scroll, this, that, the other, and then subtables for you to fill out when you get to your setting. You know what I mean? Or you could come up with them then, but you don't want to interrupt play too much. You can kind of prep them in preparation of you going there. That we're going to get into that with the minimum viable sandbox. And just real quick before you kind of sense this, I just want to, you know, nip this where it's at. Okay, so this video is going to go in a lot of different directions, but the idea is that this video is talking about the creation of tools and also directing you in a bunch of different directions for what you might need, because it's kind of like you can have, oh yeah, so like it's sort of like this list here, like, but what tools do I need if I don't know the tools I need, right? You know, that's kind of like the opposite of I need more systems versus just play the game. Yeah. Yeah, what tools do yeah. Sure. We'll do it like that. That's fine. You get the idea. Okay. So we got a lot more to go through. And this isn't necessary. I mean, this is kind of the, I guess it's not really the meat. It's like the restaurant. This list here. It's not the meat, it's the restaurant. So all of these are dishes in your YouTube experience that you can go and, or not, these are all like, I guess it's more like the brochure. I don't know how to describe it, but these are all places Or, yeah, I guess it's like you can go find these dishes out in the world. Maybe it's like a recipe book. I don't know. The metaphor has been lost. It doesn't matter. This is just a bunch of places you can go and find these tools or understand these concepts more. And then my idea is like having all these in one place, it gives you direction for, oh, I'm missing that tool. And it also, once we get to the next part of this video here, it gives like a huge list of different tables that I can discuss in more detail in a later video. This is kind of going to be cursory look at those tables once we get there. Anyway, so yeah, the Book of Random Tables, Mythic GME. Oh, I tried to italicize anything I don't have access to. Like, I mean, this is literally a YouTube video, so I have access to it. It's free. Currently, they have Land of Eam has a quick start guide. Yeah, I have access to this oracle here. I do not have this. I got the idea from the book on the Me, Myself, and Die channel, okay? Mythic GME, I do not have it. I've just watched some videos about it, and I really liked Me, Myself, and Die's video where they did like Savage Worlds. I think it's like season 1 of Me, Myself, and Die. But they had these scenes and the interjecting scenes that I was just like, that is so cool. So that's a concept I picked up on that, like, I would want to make a table based on that concept. Okay. So I don't have to have every single one of these. But the ones that are italicized, I definitely don't. Like, I don't have, I don't know if I don't know if there's a free version of Labyrinth Lord. I probably need to check on that. Yes, I just found it. There is a completely free version of Labyrinth Lord. It just doesn't have the art. There we go. Just added it. We could have kept both, but, you know, if you like it and you want to help out Labyrinth Lord, you could just do that. Also, anyways, we're moving on. I was going to say I'll just go ahead and say it. I don't know how to do where, like, you have a special link to these places so that they know you visited. I'm not sponsored, but I mean, there are so many places here, so I don't know. I don't get anything for you using these links. So, and this, you know, just go up to whatever search engine you're using, type in your stuff, go for it. You know what I mean? You don't have to follow the link. You can just type it in based on what it is. You know, what it is. Like, go look Labyrinth Lord Drive-Thru RPG or whatever. Anyways, moving on. So, Cairn, in general, huge inspiration. Yeah. I mean, there's just so much. And we'll get into specifics later for Cairn, but this is a game I definitely want to play. It's like, yeah, it's so inspiring. Reading it inspired me, okay? I haven't played it. I want to, but I want to figure out how to solo it. And then Man Alone actually has a guide, Flint, I think is the name of it, on how to solo it. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Then Runehammer games, he had a video where he does this tactic dice, and a lot of his videos are really interesting on how to change up and inspire, like, DMing, and they can work for, you know, solo roleplay too. So Runehammer games tactics dice, where you have these dice, like with swords, shields, and explosions. He explains it in the video, but it's, the concept is like having variable actions for your different combatants if you do happen to get into combat. And then Tinkar's just got so many videos. But 3 standout ones I would say is like low prep towns / just how to run a town without going crazy. 2, like, just here's a hex. What do I do? And then 3 is just like take 10 seconds and describe this dungeon room. And all 3 of those are worth, you know, looking at. And he's got a bunch more, like, on each of these different concepts. And then Earth Mote, minimum viable sandbox, you know. That's a video on just like taking, I think it's like 50 something hexes, and then you got like 2 dungeons, settlement or 2, maybe 3, and then like 3 or 4 factions, And then some tables, some NPCs slash NPC generators. And this is kind of what I'm trying to do, is like make a tool to run that sort of thing, like, and generate it at the same time. Like make templates to make that, But yeah, so that's Earth Motes concept. And I didn't include it as my inspiration because like the main two inspiration I use are like very recent. So go watch those if you want to, like, but I mean, watch all of these, like, if whatever interests you. Anyways, there's an article by Goblin Punch on, like, when you're solo role playing, but you're also like OSR trying to play, you want resources to matter, you want there to be timers, you might not want to keep up with everything. Goblin Punch's Underworld Clock, it kind of fixes a lot of that stuff. It helps with random encounters and resources and all this kind of stuff and makes it more concise. Very interesting concept. And then just Man Alone has been a huge inspiration. I've mentioned him already a couple times in this video. I linked a video on, like, which one did I link? It's like the one on how to start playing, I think. Actually start playing, yeah. Okay, and then Bob World Builder's Encounter Table Building. He just, like, the big kicker. Well, I don't want to bury the lead, but I'm about to mention it in a second. It's just, you want it. See right here, use 2 dice. And I've seen a bunch of how-tos. Like, it's like, how do I find an encounter reaction table? Or, well, reaction table, you want to use 2d6 too. The curve is really the kicker. If you want variability, and he mentions it in the video too. If you want variability of rarity, like you want a most common thing, you want a curve. So you roll 2 dice and add the results. This is different than a D66, where you're using 2 dice to have 36 different specific results. And it's also different than just rolling like a D12 or a D10 or whatever you want to roll. You can use like a D10 or a D100 for like names, stuff that with the variability doesn't matter. You want everything to be equal rarity, magic items, mundane items, that sort of thing. Random treasure, those could have a curve, but it might just be completely random. And you could even have like a treasure list that's got all these different items, and then have a little thing on the side like that. It has like the value of the item. So let's say you want it to be of a similar value, then you fill in the rest with silver or gold or whatever, Okay, so where do we do one? Okay, yeah, we didn't even do one yet. Okay, so here we are. And I guess that could be its own video, like, just that could be stuff that inspires me. Boom, there's a video. But I'm going to keep going. I'll separate it in the whatchamacallit. Yeah, so we're 23 minutes in. All right. So this is the top 15. Okay, and I'll explain how the order works in a second, but at least in my mind. So the top 15 tables and prep to consider, in my amateur opinion, since I've literally only played one solo role play to completion thus far, and I've attempted to play Ironsworn, and neither of which used any of these tools. So this is a little bit of armchair explanation, which is a terrible sell on the list, but it's also why I included all these resources, because these are things that inspired me to make this, or not to make this, but to plan to make this. Okay, thinking about the thing. I saw a review of Bent Wizards, which is Runehammer's guide to making games, which I need to pick that up too. It probably can add that to inspiration, but I don't know. The review didn't really, it told me some stuff, but should probably just like add that. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So number one. Okay, and before I get to number one, bonus side tangent. And you can kind of see where you can see like, it's not ordered from best to worst. It's literally ordered from like the first one that I think you need, which anyways, and then what leads to that next, theoretically. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so I've got my yes, no, plus, and or oracle. What would I need next, theoretically? And I might be misled on how that ordering would work, but generally, thematically, the tables are grouped numerically. You know what I mean? Okay, so it begins. 1. Yes, no, plus, and or oracle, which is very fun to say, believe it or not. Try it. I wouldn't say it 3 times fast, though. And I like Land of Eames stat involvement, where like you can get bonuses on this. Not necessarily always stats, but like, oh, you have an advantage that you've described. And especially if you're journaling or, using a little bit of, especially you need to use a little bit of narrative. I mean, play how you want, but the narrative stuff can make it really fun. And I found that out through Notorious solo play. Okay, so, and make sure it's 2d6. I mean, you don't have to with a yes and oracle. It could be a d10. But I like the idea of the 2d6 because you can have a most common, thing. Technically, you could have like a d20 and just have the same result multiple times, and that adds a curve like that you can kind of customize. But I don't know. This just makes the curve for you, and then you don't have to read the same thing when you're looking over like the thing. It's like the same result 4 times because you had to list it 4 times. But anyways, maximum +3 added for stats is something that Land of Eames does. And I think that's just to kind of make it so you're not just always getting 12s because, or more often just getting higher results, And it's not just a yes, no, and or oracle they have that for. And I think they specifically in Land of Eames use it for like what happens when you travel. Yeah, so I'll put like a caveat, travel. But yeah. Okay. So then number 2. Encounter tables. Specific to a region depending on town, wild, or dungeon. This is very much referencing Tinker's Tavern stuff. Yeah, 2d6 to make common, uncommon, and rare. I think the link here is, let's see what I got here. Yeah, we already have that linked up above, so we're good on that. Okay. And then you also want like potentially, it depends on how you're playing. And same with Underworld Clock. This is more moving towards OSR or even like old school play. You want to be able to like potentially telegraph stuff. And conceptually, I like the idea of you roll on a table and then you get a sign. And then that sign has a subtable that you could roll on. Like if you hear chittering in the distance, that could be a giant bug. It could be a swarm of rats. It could be goblins whispering. I don't know. Like there could be a subtable depending on region. But then you're making tables within tables, but that could be cool. It's just a little bit more prep work. Alternatively, you could just roll the monster and then the NPC or the event, the encounter, whatever's happening, and then it has a subtable on its entry that says like it makes one of these noises or one of these signs appears to let you know what it is. Or you just pre-prep exact signs, but then you're kind of like, you want to have a, sorry about that, I knocked the mic. You want to kind of surprise yourself when you play, right? And it can give you that instant inspiration. You're like, oh, this happened. Oh, what does that mean? So it gets your brain juices flowing and gives you that awe, that surprise. Okay? So that's what that is. And I know it just says encounters table, but I also mentioned, the underworld clock from Goblin Punch, the underclock, I think is what they call it, and then also considering signs for self-telegraphing, which sounds crazy. This might not be a great idea. This is something I kind of thought of because I was listening to a lot of stuff about telegraphing, so it could be cool. I'd have to try it out, but I want to try to integrate it into the lists, Then number 3, the rest, yes, you might want encounter tables and to try out the underworld clock, but the solo telegraph is kind of the conceptual thing. But 3, a reaction table, and you definitely, if you want to have 2d12, well, I mean, you could do 2d12, but 2d6, you've got like kind of neutral in the middle. They're ready to talk and see how you're going to, figure things out. Now, there's also solo protocol. Gosh, what's that name called? It's the one with the locusts. 1 second. Okay, it's Cloud Empress, and they're not locusts, they're cicadas. My bad. All right. And then you got action. I guess I kind of just ran through that one, but let me explain what Solo Protocol does. It gives, and I got that from Man Alone, the idea to use that. And I actually do have Solo Protocol as an option. But what it kind of does is it gives your party members like a little pie chart, and you can roll on it as stuff comes up until the pie chart's filled to kind of like learn what their personality is over time. Or you can just roll all in advance, and then when an interaction with other players, or not other players, with other NPCs comes up, they roll to kind of see how they initially react. So your party members are reacting with their specific personality that you rolled up, and then NPCs have their own that you roll up when you find them, or when you build them as NPCs. Or you can also just roll them on the sub list. But I really, really like that as a reaction table. But if you want to go with more of like a old school reaction table, you could just have 2 be hostile, 12 be just quick friends, and then 7 be neutral, and then you got all that variance in between. You can also get nitty gritty with it, kind of do a D66 where all of the 7s are neutral, but all of the different like specific combinations of the D66 neutral reaction have different like sub things that are going on, little caveats. Where did I saw that recently. Let me see if I can find it real quick. The catastrophic unpacking reaction rolls from 2022. This list kind of I'm not sure about the exact entries that they put, but it's an example in which like you have these general principles like neutral, cautiously friendly, hesitant, and then you get more specific with it. This is kind of like something I read from a while back where you have like the different emotions and you roll, and then that's how they react. And that's kind of how I got to Cloud Empress, but I didn't make Cloud Empress. I'm saying that's how I found it because they use a similar thing and they were mentioned in the article, if I believe. Anyways, so that was 3 out of 15. Okay, now action verb. What are they doing, right? And like how, or, get specific with it. Like, these are like little descriptors, and I need to see, like, I would try to craft an example in the video specific to this to kind of show you what I mean. But, and I probably could have done that with this, but this would have been, it might not actually have been that much longer. It just would have been a better visual, representation. But like, are they like kind of what are they doing? It's similar to the next entry. That's why the next entry is next. And you could kind of integrate this with a D66 reaction table. Like, it's kind of blends into goals, but are they hunting? Are they running? Are they, tunneling? Are they, sightseeing, relaxing, vacationing? All these different things. I guess those are ing verbs. What is that? Adverbs? It's been a minute. Sorry. Anyways, number 5. NPC quirks and goals goes hand in hand with action verb. Okay? So NPC quirks, it kind of gives you an idea, something interesting, fun, odd, stand out, memorable about an NPC. Could be personality, could be like a piece of clothing that they wear that's unique. Like my last character, Notorious, had an eye patch. That's a good example. Makes them more memorable. Maybe they have a big gun that they're carrying. Maybe they are a anthropomorphic bear. These are things that make them memorable. Maybe they have special powers. Maybe they have certain personality traits, oddities, other quirks. Maybe they're exceptionally strong or smart, so like stats-based quirks. Or maybe they are, forgetful or potentially like rude or something. Like, you never know. Like, there's a lot of different quirks you could have with these NPCs. You could make multiple lists to make like each of those different subcategories. So you could, say, let's roll on which type of quirk they get and then roll on that table, or just throw them all into one if you're just going to have one quirk, right? Or you could have 2 lists, you get 1 from each. There's options. And then goals. You want them to have something they desire, something they're seeking, some kind of like with the verb, what they're doing, what they're going after, their motivation. Yeah, so just a table of goals for them to have. These could kind of flow into factions, where like you could have, oh, this is a member of this faction. What kind of goals do they have, and how are they seeking it? Verb. That would be getting a little bit more complicated with it, but how complicated you get changes the payoff. But then it's like, how much is a system can be good without it playing you. It can just be a really good system and you're utilizing it as a better tool. It doesn't necessarily have to give you more. It doesn't have to give you a paragraph or 2. It can give you less words, but lead you in a mechanical way, like a narrative mechanical way, that gets you to more information that you can take inspiration from. There we go. Okay. And then name generator table or list, just have D66 names, have 100 names, have 5 names, 20 names, whatever. It doesn't even have to have a curve. You could just have a bunch of names. If you want to get specific with it, you could have names that are common in a region or within a faction or within a city, however you want to do it. You could have species, common names, cultural, a country within your world, a planet, all these different ways of subcategorizing name lists, okay? It's just handy to have. You can just roll a dice, and you don't even you can find a name generating table. You could go to the census.com. That's not a website. That's just an idea. Okay, just to clarify. It might be a website, but I probably should include it as an option. But my idea is that, and I've got a book that's just filled with names that I could use. And I've used it where I've like switched some stuff about it to make a name. There's actually a great guide on how to make better names. I probably should include that in the inspirations. Guide for 4 ways. Let's just go find the video. Okay, I found it. This is not 4 ways, but the name diamond. They've got like this 4 ways to name a character. And you don't have to use all 4 of them, but it can help you generate a list of names pretty quickly. And you can also like have your characters, the idea you have for them can meet a flavor. Like you could have them aggressive sounding names that kind of resonate, Anyways, It's a very good video. I highly recommend it. Cannot remember the name of the channel. Let me see real quick. Let me pause. Okay, that was Jed Hearn. Okay. So we'll add that to the inspiration list. So that was number 8. No. I put it on the I put it on the wrong thing. Am I recording? Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I skipped ahead there. And we'll just add that to inspiration. Just say see Jed Hearn. Okay. And then boom. There we go. Yep. Next. Combat tactics. All right, so this is pretty much combat dice, like I was saying. You can make it more complicated. You could have it where like sword plus shield means like a cautious attack or a defensive attack. It's kind of like reactions, but you're already in combat, so it's kind of too late. You could have more than just 3 things, you know, but you can also use the combinations and then you could also change the number of dice they get depending on what type of enemy they are. So I really recommend the video on Runehammer on the combat dice. Yeah. And they've got all kinds of other dice on there that they use, which are fun. Like the direction dice are good. The countdown dice for timers. Oh, great resources. But yeah, I highly recommend that video. These are just really exciting concepts to me that I want to kind of try to make my own lists from. They're just like, oh, you need it to work for your setting. This is how. Beautiful, beautiful videos. Lots of them, tons of them. Great guides out there. Okay, so location details. All right, Sea Tankers guides. I've said it right here. Okay, how zoomed out are you? Are you on the hex map? Are you in the wilderness? Or is it a point crawler? Are you on a watch, like for Cairn? This would be a table or a series of tables that you roll on, and it will generate you what happens. You specify it, kind of like your encounters, to the different locations. So you have those resources. Like, oh, you walk into a glade. What's there, you know? And you could do it in like 10 seconds. You just have 3 different things, something odd, something that they need to notice, and then some sort of danger or a sign of danger. Those are like the 3 things. Boom, you already know how to do it. But the video really goes into some more detail. Okay? And it's just great to have something like that ready, prepped, before you sit down. So there's nothing keeping you from playing. Which sometimes it's cool to have things that kind of slow it down and then take you on side paths and stuff, but you want it to be all in support of making a great adventure for your session. Okay? So that's location details. Oh, and like, so yeah. So you have the hex. Then you have like, oh, you're in town. These things happen. How to run a town smoothly. Little details, that kind of thing. And then when you're in the dungeon, not just encounters, but when you enter a room, what is there? Like you could use the same thing, the 3 things. Town's a little bit different. Actually, it's a lot different, but it still kind of has some related things going on. All right. Then you got loot, rewards, and room furnishings, which similar thing right there. Similar to location details. Can be a little bit different because it's like you might want to wait until maybe there is just a loot room. Or maybe the way you want to run it is every time you fight, you got loot, and now you got to figure out how you're going to carry it into the next room, or that'll help you decide on when you want to leave the dungeon or the lair or wherever you're at. So yeah. And then just like have rewards available to kind of like, oh, you've earned a reward from table 3. And so you don't even have to think about what it is. And if you described it from another thing, then, you know, roll on it and then you can see it, you know, it's there waiting to like tell your characters, is this worth a pretty normal looking broom and a sheathed sword and a crate? Do I want to risk waking up the sleeping, pack of wolves with dragon wings, that kind of thing. Okay, so and then just like big lists of all kinds of magical items and mundane items. I love the lists in Land of Eam. They just go on and have all of these slightly weird, kind of gonzo, odd, fun things, and their magical items are so cool. I like that some of them have kind of like there's such twists to them. Very fun, very fun. It's great to have these just to kind of roll on and give yourself a sense of wonder. It's just like, wow, I found the thimble of invulnerability. Nothing can, mess with this thimble. So I'm trying to block like heat rays with it or disintegration beams. But it's not going to do anything against a blizzard spell. I've practiced for years with my thimble to try to block arrows with it because nothing will get past it, except for maybe the law of the conservation of energy. I do not understand that very well. That's a physics thing. These are, unless you're playing in like a modern setting, a fantasy or a sci-fi, maybe low sci-fi or high sci-fi, or hard sci-fi or soft sci-fi, whatever. Okay. Moving on. Went on a bit of a sub-tangent there. Table 11. And some of these aren't exactly tables. We're getting to the point where it's not necessarily a table. It's more of like a tool or a table or a template, that kind of thing. Okay. So weather, terrain, and environmental aspects of the battlefield. This is similar to location details, but it's just more tables for you to consider in addition to location details, something of like, you're like, ooh, I need a little bit more, but I don't want to roll on the table again. I want to roll on a secondary thing. And I could have sworn I talked about the next list already. But yeah, this is something that Tinkar goes over a lot too. I guess I haven't gone over a twist, a complication, or an event. This is where the mythic GME scenes come in, where you can just like, you can be having a scene and then it's like something else happens. It's a special scene or an interjected scene or an interrupting scene. And it can really change how the story flows, but also let you have that structure in place. It can kind of adds a twist. And then that's not the only way of doing it. You can have other tables that's just like, something happens. And then this table helps you determine when that happens. Like if you roll a natural 2 or less on any dice roll, check the twists. Or once every 5 turns, check for a twist, a complication, or an event. Or there could be on your encounter table this. Or this could lead to encounters. There's a lot of ways of doing it. That's, And then 13, you got rumors and quest hooks. If you're like, oh gosh, what am I doing? NPC pops up, you could break the narrative a bit to keep the story going, make the narrative weird and then figure it out later, as long as you keep going forward. So these help you keep going. And it gives you places to go. Like they say, oh, that cave over in the northwest of the map has griffins and wargs, and maybe even a dragon. This stuff to send you out there. Or, oh, the rivers run dry lately, so we can't ship stuff downriver that easily. We can't send merchants or whatever. I don't know. Okay. And then 14, faction moves. So like I said, spelled Mouse Ritter. Mouse Ritter. Mouse. There we go. I think there's a double dot over the U, but maybe not. Mouse Ritter. Okay. Faction moves. Like, I don't know if that's what they call them exactly, but there's all kinds of ways to do faction moves. But what I mean is like having little bulleted dots, and when something happens in their favor, you fill in a dot and they complete it over time, They're making faction moves, and then something happens in the world because you haven't stopped that faction from doing what they're trying to do. And then finally, just having a game loop. Oops, I knocked something over. A game loop would be kind of like in Notorious. You have a destination. Well, sorry. You have the hunt, which is an event and then a destination. And then you just keep repeating that loop until you finish the game. And there's little mechanical things in there that keep it flowing and keeping it spicy, that sort of thing. So, yeah. And it also gives the whole thing a narrative beginning, middle, and end, where things change over time. Yeah. But, Notorious is its own self-contained, unless you add the expansion, entity, basically. But it is customizable. I found that out the first time I played it, because I kind of added my own little twists and stuff. That's how you play it, by adding your ideas because of the journal. Okay, so that's everything. That's the whole shabam. This is going to be kind of a baseline from which I make other videos from. It's like a source list and ideas that I have and tables that I want to complete with which to prep. And also kind of a storage place for all of my different like little oracles that I come up with and kind of compare them as it grows over time, that sort of thing. Hopefully it was useful to you. Hopefully you can check, for sure you can check out the description below, and there's just going to be this massive set of really cool influences and really cool resources, hopefully to you, that you can use. All right. So it's a big list of stuff. And I think all these are really fun to watch, really cool, and very inspiring. At least they were to me. So, all right. It was good talking to you, and thank you.